This is a video addressed to Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy about their Doge project, and it addresses the Federal Aviation Administration's flight medical situation where it takes them 8 months to review medical files when they should be doing it within 8 hours. I've spent about $20,000 over the last 4 years trying to get through the broken FAA CAMI Special Issuance process, and I've realized that it's just impossible to get through this government red tape. Instead of 8 months turnaround, which is the current time it takes the FAA CAMI to review a pilot's medical file, I believe it should be reduced to just 8 hours. I know that this will make heads explode at the FAA CAMI, but I look at it this way. If you can see your doctor today and pick up a prescription in the same day, you can leave your doctor's office, go to the pharmacy, through the drive-thru in the same day. Why can't the FAA, with its billions of dollars in assets in radar and air traffic control, why can't the FAA CAMI examine your medical submission the same day instead of taking 8 months minimum at the best case scenario? For example, the FAA, they only accept your medical submissions by fax or snail mail. And I'm going, who has a fax nowadays? Who has a landline to support a fax? Some of the solutions I recommend is to privatize the FAA CAMI to several competitors so we can get away with this 8-month or longer turnaround. Another one is to trust the air medical examiner and trust the board-certified doctors. Currently, the FAA does not trust my board-certified doctors. And I think the ultimate solution is pilots must be reviewed by the FAA within 8 hours of their medical file submission, or they are automatically approved for a 24-month term. This might make heads explode at the FAA, but I think it's the only way to fix this broken process with the FAA. They can go around for months or years looking at ways to reduce the timeline and all that. But if you put this one mandate in place that the FAA must review a pilot's medical within 8 hours of the pilot submitting it, or it's automatically approved for a 24-month term, the FAA is going to figure out a way real quick to comply with this and get it fixed. But right now, they have no motivation. They're a monopoly, and it's just dragging out where pilots are losing their careers because it takes years, not months, not weeks, not days. It takes years for pilots to get reviewed through the current broken FAA CAMI process. And also, my personal experience is the FAA has thrown unnecessary medical exams in front of me that cost hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. And I think the FAA must prepay for the unnecessary medical exams, or the pilot is automatically approved after 30 days. Here's some details. I think the FAA really stands for the Fear and Aggravation Administration, and their unofficial slogan is, "We're not happy until you're unhappy." I've heard this from a lot of pilots, and they're afraid to say it officially because they know the FAA is a monopoly and can yank their pilot's license. CAMI stands for Can't Actually Make It. Their official name is the Civil Aerospace Medical Institute, but my experience with working with them over the last 4 years and $20,000 in medical bills is you can't make it. My situation is I don't think I'm ever going to be approved because of the runaround and the red tape. I'm done. I've got nothing to lose, and I'm here to help future pilots navigate this nightmare. And I really think the only way that any pilot who needs to get a special issuance is this solution, Elon and Vivek. Pilots must be reviewed by the FAA within 8 hours of submission, or they're automatically approved for a 24-month term. Elon, you know when you put down a deadline, people are going to meet it. They're going to figure out a way to simplify and make it happen. This is the only way the FAA is going to figure it out, is when they know that they've got 8 hours to review a submission, they're going to figure out a way to do it because they know that pilot's going to get approved, and they can't revoke that approval for 24 months. Moving on. The reason I'm making this video is I've got nothing to lose, but I've also learned a life experience of if a Martian were to come to me from the future and say, I've got a video of your future, of what you're about to go through with this FAA CAMI Special Issuance nightmare process. It's going to cost you $10,000 for this video, and then you can decide if you want your future to include going through this. I would say $10,000 today would have been a bargain, because after my 4 years and $20,000 in medical expenses, I've determined the FAA CAMI Special Issuance process is broken. And I'll show you that in another slide. This process has made me feel like a desperate cancer patient. I'm desperate for a solution that was promised, because the FAA has websites that state that you can get through this. There's only a 0.1 rejection rate, but I've learned that it's just an abusive process. There's medical professionals that are offering ways for you to get through this and coach you through this broken process. And what I've learned after 4 years and $20,000, you basically just get milked dry of your resources, hoping you can get through this hopeless process of the FAA. I've also learned follow the money. If you look online at all the blogs and videos, there's lots of people claiming that can help you get it through this FAA CAMI Special Issuance process. But what I've learned is they're selling you hope. There are medical people, there's medical advisors, there's lawyers, there are aviation club memberships. All of them have a financial interest in keeping you hoping that you have a chance to get through this hopeless FAA red tape nightmare. And getting back to this, Vivek and Elon, the only solution I see is pilots must be reviewed by the FAA within 8 hours of their electronic submission. Let me put that in. Pilots must be reviewed by the FAA medical within 8 hours of their electronic submission, or they're automatically approved for a 24-month term. That's the only way the FAA is going to get motivated to fix their broken 8-month process. Here's what I tell pilots if you want to get through the FAA. Do you want to get a Class 1, 2, or 3 medical certificate? It's a simple test. If you have no medical condition that qualifies special issuance, you can get an FAA medical approval for about $200. But if you have a medical condition that qualifies as special issuance, you're doomed. What I've been through, I'd like to save you a lot of time, money, and aggravation. The FAA CAMI Special Issuance process will drag on and cost you tens of thousands of dollars. It'll take a minimum of a year at best, and most likely will take 2 years at best. I'm never going to do this again, and I'm hoping that this video will be a warning to all the other wannabe pilots. It's a complete waste of time, money, and effort, and if you don't need a Class 3 medical, I would avoid it. The $20,000 I've wasted on medical bills trying to get through this special issuance process, I could have spent it on pilot lessons and had my license by now. What's happened to me is the special issuance process has cost me thousands of dollars. I've maxed out my annual insurance deductible, and then you factor in my co-pays and the demand by FAA CAMI for extra medical exams that my doctors have deemed unnecessary and are not covered by insurance. For example, the FAA demanded I do a 7-channel sleep study. All of my doctors, my primary care physician, my cardiologist, said I had no symptoms of sleep apnea, and they said the sleep study would be unnecessary. They asked, do you snore? No. Do you wake up refreshed? Yes. Do you feel drowsy during the day? No. They all said that the FAA was throwing unnecessary roadblocks in front of me to get me to give up. Now, a 5-channel sleep study was covered by my insurance, but it's not approved by the FAA CAMI. But guess what? The 7-channel sleep study that the FAA demanded is not covered by insurance, and I had to pay out of pocket $900 for this unnecessary